俺のことは気にするな。自分の仕事に。その気があるなら一曲付き合ってやってもいい。
Yeah, I saw the announcement of an announcement. I saw that earlier. That's cool, I guess. I hate when companies do that, though. We're like, we're going to announce it here, and then you watch the whole time, and you wait for them to tell you, hey, the game is coming out in 6 months. Like, why don't you just announce it then? Well, hopefully it's sooner than later. So yeah, you might want to read the pinned post. I'll go ahead and explain it in more minute detail. Basically, the whole reason I was going to be able to go on this trip was because my friend was supposed to house me, but he had to pull out at the last minute. And what makes this difficult is he said that he could before, but then this morning he said that he couldn't. Now, normally I wouldn't mind, because it wouldn't be that big of a deal, because, you know, I'm not physically traveling there yet, right? The issue is I've already booked the hotel. I already paid for the train ticket. And it's going to be a pain in the ass to get it refunded. So, I am not doing well right now. It's going to be hell on earth to get it canceled. I would prefer to just go. I hate having to do this, but that's just how things are right now. He's just unable to house me, which is fine. It's not really his fault. I'm not mad at him or anything. It's just the whole act of canceling it is is the real pain. That's what's hard to deal with. If you guys have ever had to deal with canceling a trip before, you know how fucking painful that is. So I'm gonna try to raise some funds so I can just still go. But yeah, it's difficult right now. I hope some friends will help me, but yeah, it's bad luck all around. Don't post the Patreon. The Patreon's not going to help me right now. I appreciate the gesture, though. Jitsu Squad is just a mess. Jitsu Squad is worse because they promised stuff from the Kickstarter and they haven't fulfilled it. both physical and digital rewards, meaning like the arcade stick and stuff is still not ready, and then also the stuff that they promised for, you know, the characters and the modes and stuff is still not available, so... And they've been mostly radio silent. I heard that the Kickstarter backers got some kind of update recently, within like the last month or something, but they basically were still radio silent about the game content, which, considering how much less that cost than the arcade stick, I think more people are probably concerned with that, obviously. The arcade stick was more of an enthusiast thing. I think most people just wanted to see the game made. But yeah, I don't know anything about that at all. Just because I beta tested it doesn't mean I know anything. I have nothing to hide. I have absolutely nothing to hide. I'm as in the dark as everybody else on that one. Yeah, that's probably part of it as well, Alvies. Generally, a lot of publishers want you to put the game out on the patch out on everything, and that makes it like way harder. That's what happened with Streets 4. It's the exact same thing that happened with Streets 4. Like, yeah, they could have just pushed a button and just put it on Steam, but the publisher said no, we want it on everything at once. Like, I had access to the version 8 patch for Streets 4 for months. I just couldn't stream it. I couldn't stream it or tell anybody, but I had it. I had it right on my computer. It's just it complicates things when the publisher is like, we want it on everything at once. Which pisses off a lot of people, because why should PC players have to wait for the patch? There's no, like, certification process when you put something on Steam or Epic or any of the other launchers. You just do it when you want. The only exception to that is pretty much when it's, like, a crossplay. Like, a good example of that would be, like, SF6. Street Fighter 6 has to have simultaneous patches on everything because they have crossplay. Battle for the Grid was the same way. But for something like Streets 4 that doesn't have any of those things, it really sucks. It's like you have the game on PC and you're held back because of console certification. That's why a lot of indie games prefer to they patch on PC first, and then like after they've like taken all the feedback and they fix all the bugs and stuff, like that's when they put it on console. Dead Cells does that, and it's the lesser of two evils, I think, because Dead Cells definitely suffers from the problem of like the PC players get it right away, but if you're on mobile or console, it takes like months. But at least if you're on PC, you don't have to wait. And console players do get it with all the bugs and stuff fixed, because Dead Cells was often pretty buggy when they would put out a major update. I prefer that personally, especially with like the advent of things like the Steam Deck. It's a lot less painful. And no, we want it on everything at once, and like if Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft take forever, then nobody gets to use it, which is exactly what happened with Streets 4. Streets 4 patch was held back by the porting teams were busy with Shredder's Revenge, and they didn't have time to port it, and then the publisher wanted it on everything day one, so... It was a shitty situation for me, especially because, you know, I had access to it because I beta tested it, but I couldn't stream it. I noticed that's why I stopped streaming and recording that game like twice. Just kind of like couldn't even mention it. It's under NDA for a really long time. I doubt that. I don't know if the Einin Games actually cares that the Jitsu Squad is not getting updated. I feel like they should care because they, you know, they did crowdfunding for it and they did deliver. I don't know how that works. I'm like, why don't you just put it on PC? Generally the better option anyway, because what happens when they do, especially for indie games, when they do frame 1 patches for everything, what ends up happening is there's always like some major bug, and then the patch has to go through certification again, whereas on PC it gets fixed like instantly. A good example was that game I bought a couple years ago, Critadel. That game was actually really good. The problem was the Switch port was unplayable because for some reason nobody noticed that the game had like a 60% crash rate every time you played it, just normally, not doing any glitches. The game didn't have any quick save or checkpoints at all, so you get 30 minutes into the run and then it crashes and you lose everything. And it took them like 2 months to fix it, and the PC version was fine. I remember I put up a video for that. I'm like, yeah, do not buy this on Switch. It's unplayable. And it took them like 2 months to fix it. I'm like, you know, if you get bad reviews for that, you kind of deserve it. You can't release an arcade game in that state. I mean, it's basically an arcade game. It's like, you can't have like fucking Knights of Valor, a 2-hour game, like just crash halfway through. You can't have that. It has to be stable. And if it's not stable, it at least needs to have some kind of checkpoint feature. But that game had neither. And they were selling it willingly broken for months. I'm like, come on, man, I can't even feel bad if the game fails at that point. That's why I always think that porting to PC is better. Putting the patch on PC first is better before trying to put it on everything at once, because there's always a chance of that happening, and it can completely tank your sales. That game was legit fun, but I'm like, you know, I can't in good conscience recommend anybody to buy this on Switch because it's broken. It's like every time you get to the end, it like memory leaked or something, and it just crash. Like, come on, you can't sell stuff in this state. It's well beyond like being an entitled gamer. It's like, dude, it doesn't work. It's a broken product. That's been happening a lot with Switch games, especially. Like, oh, we'll fix it later, we promise. I'm like, oh, cool, well, you're asking for money for it now. It should work now. Especially when it's not even a nitpicky thing like frame rate or load times. It's like the game crashes constantly. Didn't that happen with the Knights of the Old Republic port for Switch? It like was all messed up, and they said like, "Oh, sorry, we can't fix it." I'm like, dude, what? You promised it. What do you mean you can't fix it?
この前の誘いならまだ有効だ。
That's like the one thing about Dead Cells that they always did right, was that they would always patch later on other platforms. So like most of the time it actually wouldn't get to the point where it was unplayable. But yeah, honestly, if you're gonna play an indie game, or like something that's gonna get patched frequently, don't buy it on Switch, because this stuff happens all the time. It's a constant thing. River City Girls 2 was another one. That game was a fucking disaster. That was the exact same thing. For some reason, they launched that game with 30 FPS on all platforms. Even, like, the PS5. Can you imagine a pixel art game like that running at 30 FPS on a PS5? Like, a phone could run that game. And it took them, like, what was it, like, several months to fix it? The PC version got review bombed for good reason, because it's not acceptable for a game like that to be running at 30 FPS on anything, even the Switch. And they fixed it within a day, which, on one hand, it's like the response time was pretty good. It's not like, not enough time to get like really angry. You know, you could have refunded in that time if you wanted to. But it took months and months to get fixed on the other platforms, and it tanked the game's player base. It did. By the time that they patched it on the Switch, I already had a Steam Deck. I'm like, cool, well, I kind of don't care right now. I mean, I don't care anymore because it's on Steam Deck now. Yeah, that game was one of the more unknown botchings of a larger game. I mean, obviously it's not like a AAA game, but that game was completely fucked for months. But that game is a perfect example of like why they should if you're gonna play an indie game, it's gonna have like less people to QA test it, right? So you should get it on PC. I don't think anyone even remembers that the PC version was all messed up too. They didn't really give you enough time to be mad. They fixed it in like 20 hours, which is still a long time for the game to not be working as intended, but they did it in like one business day. You can't complain too much, right? But when it takes months to work, I feel like that's well beyond the limits of patience. That game also had the problem of, what's it called? They did crossplay online, so it had to get certified on everything at once, and that made it take even longer. Yeah, that game was functionally broken on everything but PC for months on end. You didn't even really get that many progress reports. It's like, oh, we're working on it. And like, that's cool, but it shouldn't have been in this state in the first place. We're already getting like 30 FPS games on PS5 already. It's finally starting to get games and they don't run any better than the PS4, but you got a indie pixel art game running like garbage too.
もう油断はしない大曲将来行くぞ無全棒承知戦波雷装どうだ行くぞはいやっや倒れたこの剣神羅万象すべてバニー3号出撃と逃がさぬ風のごとくやっ逃がさぬフィールドセンサーを確認したどうだや剣に形などあらず勝ち続けようたとえ迷いが消えずとも
I feel like developers should just post the patch on PC first. Everybody hates how long it takes for Dead Cells to get updates on non-PC platforms, but they do launch relatively bug-free, and I feel like that's got to mean something, right? I mean, I'm kind of cool with it personally, especially because I did used to play that game on mobile and Switch.
速達サービスはどう覚悟しててね嵐が来るよおさわり禁止だよとことん行くよはい邪魔者はお掃除しないと本物の嵐しっかり受け止めてね時間通りに配達完了愛と希望を運ぶのも私の仕事だからねこれ以上は近づかせないよ てみせる。ふっ決めるよ。それ。はいキャー。それ決めるよ。このはっこの痛みをたける雷に。
Alright, I like this character.
償われて
Adjacent to my interests. Game's actually got a decent amount of martial artists. I don't know if they have the other guy in, the guy with the broadsword. He was really cool because he's basically just Virgil. He has like round trip, and then while the sword is out, he can do martial arts. Do they have him in the game yet? I haven't played this in like a year. I kind of hopped off it because I was playing other stuff at the time. Yeah, they don't have that guy yet. We'll definitely get him too. Oh, that guy looks cool. He probably makes no money though because he's an old man. Oh yeah, this guy is awesome too. I have him on the CN version. I'll probably get him. If I keep playing, I'll get him. Oh yeah, her too. All the new characters have like way more interesting movesets. Yeah, that guy got added too.
ではお手並み拝見といきましょう。ご用が終わりでしたら何なりと。
Yeah, it's the alt version of this guy. He just has Virgil round trip. he just put it out and then start punching and kicking, and he gets like a different moveset. I guess that guy is coming next. I haven't really kept tabs on this game. I'm not really playing Pika Combat right now. I might start playing this instead. Let's see, how close am I to Pity? Does this game have the Genshin Impact 50-50? I think it does. I'll have to hope I get the Tonfa chick on the first try. I need 50 summons. Oh wait, can you switch it? Let me see. I'm not gonna pull on this character. Just don't like the character designs that much in this game compared to PGR. A lot of them are just shitty lollies like this. There's a couple cool looking characters. Like this chick looks cool. Actually looks like a fighter. And yeah, there's a lot of garbage lollies in this game. I can't stand that shit. Like this too. Not a fan. Or this. This guy is fucking cool. I can't wait for his new form. That's like my kind of character. This chick is cool, but her moveset is very boring. Same with her. Some of them actually look decent. It's the lollies I can't stand. Looks like they have less lollies now. They were really lolly heavy at the beginning. I'm like, dude, I don't want this kind of character. This guy, I think I had him on the other version. This chick's got aerial raves and stuff. Yeah, this guy is fun. But he's kind of lolly adjacent too. This guy looks awesome. I really like him. This guy is probably not my kind of character, but I just like that they have an old guy in a gacha. It's very hard to find. Fuck these lollies. Can't stand that shit. Kamen Rider guy looks cool, but he sucks. He's ass to play. Another lolly, no thanks.
Huh?
Yeah, this guy looks kind of lame too.
なんでしょう。お手伝いできることは。
Oh god, what the fuck is this? Yeah. PGR clears this game in character designs for sure. They have like very few lollies in PGR. Most of them actually look like they could actually fight. I know that's what makes money, but I get tired of it personally. Gotta make the lolicons happy. Lolicons probably spend way more money on this stuff than I do, so more power to them. I don't think this game only gets like a couple $100,000 a month. Which is weird because it has like actual gameplay. And, like the shit mobile games that have no gameplay make like way more money. PGR is like 700k a month, I think. This month their earnings are probably really high because of Crimson Weave. Crimson Weave probably going to give them like a record-breaking month. Crimson Weave and Stigmata are like the biggest money makers on the other versions. That's probably why they're never going to power creep either of those two characters. If anything, they'll buff them. They've started doing leaps for S-rank characters now. They didn't used to do that, but they're starting to do it now. I'm like, you know, that's actually a really good thing. I really like that about that game. Like, yeah, there's power creep, and the new characters just stay invincible for so long. Like, the combat isn't as engaging as it was at launch, but you know, if you don't care about the meta or like clearing the hardest content, it's cool how they still buff them, the old characters. It's like, yeah, your scores aren't going to be as high, but if you really like this character, we'll buff them and make them relevant so that they're not complete bench warmers. I actually really appreciate that. This KOF All-Star had a lot of characters that were like really fun to play, but the power creep was just fucking really overbearing in that game, and you couldn't use them for anything. They're completely useless. Elite program system used to only be for A ranks, but now they're doing it for S ranks, which is actually really cool. They buffed the oldest S rank a couple months ago. I'm like, damn, what other gacha does that? Normally, the S ranks that came out at the beginning are like best in slot for like the first year tops, and then they're useless. Like they fall off really fast. Like this chick I'm playing has been completely power crept, but she's the best character I have because I played at launch. And I stopped after like 2 months.
その首もらい受け大事なものをこの手で守ったところどうだ
That was what made me stop playing KOF All-Star. I'm like, you have all these fun characters, but most of them are useless. Like 95% of them are useless. Gets old after a while. Just wait for the next power creep repeat.
もう油断はしない
ここが貴様の死に場所だ
行くぞ無全部承知戦馬雷奏どうだ頼んだバニー3号どうだこの剣すべて止める
火祭りにあげてやろう。
The thing that sucks about KOF All-Star is the dupe system. That's why one of the reasons why I stopped playing that game. The power creep in the dupe system was really bad. I don't like how they tied like entire progression systems to maxing out a character. But you either had to save up for months or spend like $700. Neither of which I wanted to do. I'm like, man, I'm over this game. This game doesn't tie any progression systems to dupes. You just get raw stats. They don't tie like gameplay mechanics to it or anything, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, the dupes are kind of boring. It's just 10% more damage kind of thing, not like, hey, now you can attack twice or something.
頼んだバニー3号どうだ任務完了事後処理も済ませてしまおう真理の力使いこなしてみせようタロットどうだや
Yeah, they're taking forever to release the PC client. I definitely empathize with you. That was one of the reasons why I stopped playing this. But now it's got 120 FPS support in the emulator, and it's working pretty well. It definitely didn't at launch. Felt like it ran better on my phone. I'm not really an expert on this game. I played CN for a few months, and then I played Global for like 2 months. But I was playing other stuff at the time. I just didn't have the time and money, so I dropped it. Well, yeah, I couldn't really tell you that. The new characters are a lot more interesting to play, though. The ones at the beginning are kind of boring and basic. That's kind of why I like hopped off this game. Compared to PGR, characters are like way more interesting to play in that, and you also have the ability to play all the characters. In this game, you only play one character. There's pros and cons to that. I feel like the pro is that you don't have to play shitty support characters, because in every like team-based action game, it always sucks building a team because, you know, they never want to make like support characters. They never want to make support characters actually fun to play. They're always like a necessity, but they're never fun to play. So in this game, it's like, I don't like playing the lolly with the gun, right? I don't even remember what her name is. She sucks to play. But she's still relevant because she's in the party. The con is that you spend a lot of time waiting for cooldowns. And this is not really engaging, just standing there and waiting for your cooldowns to come back. But it's not all bad. It's like Tales games, like gacha games just don't... They never make support characters fun to play. And it sucks having to invest resources in a character you don't want to play. This game kind of gets around that. It's like you still have to build them, but you don't have to actually play them, which is awesome. If they're boring to play, or you just it's not your kind of play style or character, you just have them in the party and they just fight. So the problem with PGR is it takes a long time for teams to feel complete. Like right now, Lightning Team and PGR is both really fun and really boring because Crimson Weave has like one of the largest movesets in the game, and she's fun to use, but the other two characters, they don't even play as them anymore. If you play as them, you're actively nerfing your combat scores. You're nerfing your scores by playing them. And that's what I don't like about that game. Even though Global's schedule is accelerated, and sometimes it takes like several patches to actually have like a really fun team. Like, Lightning Team in PGR is no different than the Lightning Team I'm using right now. You just play as one character. The other two just buff them. And in PGR, it's kind of like they're less fun to play because they're like early characters and they don't really have that much depth in their moveset. But then also, they don't do as much damage, so it sucks both ways, basically. It's like, meta-wise, you don't want to use them because, you know, they're actively making your scores worse by using them. But then also, the problem is they're not fun to play either. PGR will eventually get to the point where they have, like, Generation 2, Gen 2 characters for everybody. But right now, it's kind of not the best. Well, the other problem with PGR right now is they've started to make it play like more like KOF All-Star, where you just watch really long animations that make you invincible. It's like, it's still satisfying to pull off, because like the core combat is way better than KOF All-Star in every way. And the game is also designed in a way where you can win with shit characters. KOF All-Star was not like that. You had to have the best characters to do stuff. But yeah, PGR is kind of getting dangerously close to that kind of meta as well, where you just spam supers that freeze the timer and make you invincible. And it's kind of like not terribly engaging, but PGR is kind of weird because it's like they are starting to balance the game more like that, and it's less interesting than it was at launch. But the movesets are also more fun, and then like you're never really required to do that. People have soloed the hardest bosses with shit characters. So I do feel that still sets it apart. The fact that you don't have to use the meta. You know, if you want your account to progress properly, you do have to use it. But they never really outright force you to do it, and I feel like that's what sets it apart from other gachas, even if it's kind of starting to do the same thing with just, you know, you do this super, big super that looks cool, but like it freezes the timer, and you're invincible during it, so there's not really a lot of engaging gameplay going on. But PGR manages to not fuck it up for the most part. I feel like they know that the game is going that direction, but they still don't, until they require you to do it, I don't really mind that much. Because in most gachas, you can't use off-meta characters. You're actively ruining the progression of your account if you do so. PGR also really lets you use like shit characters off meta. Oh god, I gotta play as this lolly. Can I play as somebody else? Garbage lolly. He's probably gonna have the most annoying voice. Oh my god. Why do people like get off to this stuff? I don't fucking understand it, man. Fucking teddy bear throwing chick. I'll never understand how people find this kind of stuff attractive. Play this game for like badass warriors, not little kids. Fighting style is garbage too. Yeah, you suck.
NANI? ちょっと緊張するけど頑張るよ。ごめん寝てた。
And stop talking. PGR has rotations, but you don't even really have to do them sometimes, because they just give you a new S rank that just doesn't need to switch. A lot of the teams are like that right now. Lightning team is like that. power creep in PGR is basically Gen 2 attackers, because they time freeze, which is kind of a weird way to do power creep. And when they do leaps as well, they never give old characters time stop. So it's like, yeah, you know, it's nice that they buff them, but on the other hand, your performance is going to be way worse. Performance is going to be way worse just because they don't have time stop. But like the modes that have ranking already kind of are pay to win in a way, because once you get past Triple S or SS3 is generally when you stop getting new game mechanics. So like at that point, everything else after that is just doing straight more damage. So a whale is going to be doing like 30 to 50% more damage than you on every interaction they make with an enemy. No amount of skill will make that go away. You just kind of have to accept that. Like, yeah, you can play really well and, you know, sweat and mauled and get far, but at the same time, a whale is going to do that 50% better than you, even if they're worse at the game. Like, because I don't have a lot of money, as we all know, the highest I generally rank is, like, hero. I can get up to, like, hero rank with my characters. Now, I have the skill level to get farther, but the whales do, like, way more damage than I do, so I kind of just don't really care about the rank that much. Not worth getting all frustrated over. I'll take what I can get.
ミンタ、ネウケ、お客様をもてなしてあげなさい。やっ、無駄な時間だったわ。せっ、やっ、はっ。敵出現だよ。足毛にしてあげる。慎重に行こう。その身と魂。準備完了。いつでも覚悟の一撃。行くよ。すべて予定通り。
This chick tanks the frame rate. They still do really need a actual PC port for this. That's why like less people play this game. So there's no PC port. You're probably better off running it on a phone. I'm at 120 FPS, but it drops to like, it keeps dropping to like 90 and 70. It's the emulator's not that great. They've done a lot of like really big improvements to this game, so I hope that they're gonna start hauling ass and getting on that soon. I definitely would play it more. It's the problem I've always had with this emulator is the PGR was the same thing. It dropped frames constantly before that got a PC port. You kind of need the frame rate to be stable, not fluctuating all over the place.
一応確認だけど、後から多額の請求書を送りつけてくるなんてことはないよね。その身と魂捧げてちょうだい。準備完了。いつでも行って。この一撃で決めるよ。すべて予定通り。はっ。 無駄な時間だったわ。せい。はっ。やっ。そんなしつけが必要ね。 行きなさい。出現だよ。やっ。復習場に行こう。まだまだこれからよ。
Like playing as this character.
成功しても無駄よ。準備完了。この一撃で決めるよ。せい。この調子。刻みなさい。私の劇にバッドエンドはないわ。
I don't really feel like playing the Relink update tonight. Doesn't look like they really added anything really worth going back to it for. All you get from the new raid is just more damage cap. I'm like, why don't you just make the damage cap higher? I don't know, the builds in that game are just so boring. I didn't maintain my interest after like 80 hours. I get really bored when it's just like, oh, you just do 15% more damage. I'm like, that's not interesting. You already have to spend so much of your space on stuff like that just to play the game. Really unfun. Hopefully, I think the next update's supposed to be in like a month or something. Maybe that one will be like a little bit better. But yeah, I was looking at people talking about that. I wasn't really too enthused to go back. Kind of wanted to play that tonight, but I don't know. It's just gonna be stuff like that. I don't really care. I don't really get super moist over just doing more damage in video games. I like when I actually have things that change the mechanics, not just I do 20% more damage every time I punch. It gets boring. Problem with Relink is just the way that the gear system is set up. You have like very few slots to like actually make your own playstyle. And I feel like until they fix that, anything they add to the game is not going to be that engaging. Should let you put like 30 damage cap on one. You actually do like other stuff besides just 65 damage cap and skill cap, and then you have like 4 slots to actually have fun playing the game.
来ましたか。いつかあなたに会えなくなったら寂しくなるかも。なんでも任務がありますので出発しましょう。
just gonna wait here for reset.
はい、みんなを守ります。
大したことじゃありません。集中しましょう。僕の視界からは逃れられませんよ。もうあなた
私に任せてください。
もうあなたの生存確率はゼロです。時の果てで滅びよ。
元気いきたい。これがナナミの最強の切り札だよ。最悪は純粋な炎は救いをもたらします。どうか安らかに苦痛という牢獄は解かれたのです。私に任せてください。
僕の視界からは逃れ
No, I'm not really interested. I was reading about it earlier.
時の果てで滅びよ。
Not interested.
何が全部元気いきたい。これがナナミの最強の切り札だよ。
I was gonna come back if the gear was more interesting, but all they did was just double down on damage.
シミュレーションか。僕の視界からは逃れられませんよ。
I like when I can make like my own kind of cool build. And I feel like pigeonholed into just one way the game makes me want to play or have to play. He was really disappointed with the builds in that game.
気を抜くのはまだ早すぎます。指揮官。
Everyone just runs the same build because the game forces you to. Like really, it's really tiresome. I know some people like that. You can just run like cookie cutter builds, but I don't know. I was hoping the builds would be more like Stranger in Paradise or Neo 2, where there's like different kinds of builds that you can make.
僕の視界からはあなたの生存確率はゼロです。時の果て
Builds in
で
that game are kind of just everybody runs almost the exact same thing. The game basically forces you to do it.
元気いきたい。これがナナミの最強の切り札だよ。最悪はすべて私ともうできるようになりました。
ターゲットロックを最大火力。シミュレーション完了。もう逃げ場はあなたたち。
私に任せてください。
あなたの生存確率はゼロです。時の果てで滅びよ。もう逃げる。
元気いきたい。
Apparently they added like more damage cap stuff. I'm like, I don't want more of that. That's the thing. Why don't you add something that gives me like level 30 in one slot? Why don't you add that instead? Like level 30 in one slot would be like actually open up a lot of possibilities to actually make more of your own build. But it seems like they just kind of doubled down. And that doesn't really interest me. Especially because it doesn't cost anything, it's free. it was a paid update, I'd care even less, but... Yeah, that game needs, like, a build and damage overhaul to have, like, any longevity. They made the characters play really differently from each other, but then everybody just equips the same stuffs. And I just didn't really... I definitely got my money's worth out of that game. I'm not gonna sound like I didn't enjoy it. It was a fun game, but it's got a lot of problems. I really hope that they'll budge on the damage cap stuff, because that's just what makes that game. The loot is just boring. They took like the most boring thing about every action RPG, which is just having to stack damage, and they made it worse. You have to do it. You can't not equip that stuff. You have to have it on.
あなたの生存確率はゼロ。私に任せ。時の果てで滅びよ。これがナナミの最強の切り札だよ。最悪はすべてもうできるようになりました。耐えられます。ターゲットロックオン。最大火力。
Like Stranger of Paradise, for instance, I had like a meter building martial artist, and that was like really fun. That was like really fun. You know, I had my own playstyle, and it wasn't just... Yes, there was a lot of just stacking damage, but you had a lot more freedom to play the way that you wanted in that game. That game has a shoestring budget and a really bad PC port, but when it came down to it, the action RPG part of that game was way better than Relink. Relink forces you to just put the same thing on everybody, and it's not good for the health of the game to have it be like that. Say the same thing about Neo 2. That game had awesome builds. Like, there were lots of different things that were viable. Thing about Relink as well is it just has like straight DPS checks, which means that unlike the other two games I mentioned where you don't have to have that, they force it on you. Another reason why I don't really like DPS checks, because that's exactly what they do. You have to do a certain amount of damage at a certain time, or the game just wipes you. Oh, is Final Fantasy Rebirth like that too? You just have to stack damage. Yeah, I'm really getting tired of that. As somebody who's really passionate about action RPGs, I'm getting really tired of that design. Make it optional to do that, don't make it mandatory. Also, the community for that game was like really anal about me using mods for some reason, even though the grind in that game sucks and is unrewarding. And you like barely get any good rewards for like actually doing challenging stuff. You get the same rewards for doing stuff that you can just AFK farm. That's like the other thing too, like if I play that game anymore in the future, I probably won't make any videos for it outside of just stream VODs, which random trolls aren't gonna watch those. Those are safe, but I
私
got a
の
lot
動
of
きをし
shit
っか
flung
り
at
見
me
て
for playing that
き
game
ちんと合わ
with
せ
the
なさい
mods. I'm like, dude, you guys are already AFK farming. Shouldn't that tell you there's something wrong with the game's progression system? If it's faster to not play the game?
私が楽しませてほしいものでその程度の使ってより解か
Isn't
れ
that the game's problem? Not
我が
mine?
刃と勝て聖書を
I've got 18 years of me doing crazy stuff in video games on here.
私が
It's not that I'm not capable of it, it's just the game doesn't respect my time, so I don't want to do
聖書を
it.
分けるのは一瞬よ
There's a difference.
風より解かれる力我が刃と勝て情けないよ楽しんでくれとするわ宿命の風は私が助ける生死を分けるのは一瞬よ
People like setting up macros to AFK farm. I'm like, dude, just cheat the stuff in.
この
Just cheat it in.
私を楽しませてほしいものね
You're not gonna lose your gamer card for cheating it in.
我が刃と勝て
The game should respect your time and reward you accordingly for doing hard content. If it doesn't, then the game is kind of not working as intended. That's how I see it anyway.
我が刃と勝て生死を分けるのは一瞬よみんなを守るわっ生死を分けるのは一瞬よ全力でかかっ風より解かれし力我が刃と勝て無駄な抵抗はやめなさい生死を危なく私もいけます宿命の風は私が助ける生死を分けるのは一瞬よ風より解かれし力我が刃と勝て手加減はしない生死を私もいけます宿命の風は私が助ける
What exactly is the problem with Rebirth? I don't know anything about that game's meta. Looks like something I might want to play at some point, but we'll have to wait till it's on PC.
手加減はしない生死を歯応えないわ宿命の風は私が助ける生死を分けるのは一瞬よ風より解かれる力我が刃と勝て情けないよ楽しんでくれたきり宿命の風は私が助ける生死を分けるのは一瞬よその程度の風より解かれる力我が刃と勝て生死を私もいけます宿命の風は私が断ち切る生死を分けるのは一瞬よ風より解かれる力我が刃と勝て生死を私もいけます宿命の風は私が断ち切る生死を分けるのは一瞬よ風より解かれる力我が刃と勝て生死を私もいけます宿命の風は私が断ち切る
Does the AI actually help, or do they just kind of stand there?
風より解かれる
Does the AI have like a damage
我が
nerf,
刃と勝て
or do they actually do something when you're not
生死を
playing
分け
as
るの
them?
は一瞬よ
Is it like Tails, where they like actually do full damage, but they're like dumb as dirt?
終幕ではない
Or
わ
is it like they're smart, but they don't do any damage? Well, I think the thing about the FF7 remake trilogy is that they have characters that are just straight boring to play, but they force them on you. Like Barrett was like really boring to play, but they force him on you a lot. But every game that has rotations is gonna suffer from that problem. They don't create the characters equal in how fun they are to play. It's like usually the melee characters are like the most fun. I don't know, it took Tales how many years to make like mages actually fun to play? It wasn't really until the PS3 games that they were actually fun to play. You either got like your less action game focused friend or partner or sibling to play those characters, or you just had the AI do it. The mages would often have like maybe like 2 melee moves, so there was never any reason to actually go in and be in harm's way, which is kind of boring in a game based on a fighting game battle system. Eventually they stopped doing that. They started experimenting with like, hey, you know, they can still be mages, but they're not complete dead weights, you know, if something gets up next to them. Well, yeah, that's kind of the risk you take when you have like progression or rotation systems, is that some characters are just going to be like way more fun to play. Well, as a non-Final Fantasy fan, what bothers me about the remake is none of your stuff carries over, right? Every time they put out a new one, you start from scratch. And it's like the original game was not designed with that in mind. It never was. You know, decisions that you make at the beginning of the game, they stay until you roll the credits. But now it's not like that. And it's kind of just really weird for me. I hope that, like, when they finish making them, they'll actually, like, fuse the games together. So that it's, like, seamless. But yeah, I'm kind of, like, bothered by that, too, as an outsider. The fact that you don't get to keep any of your stuff. Like, how hard is it to just have, like, a save transfer? At least let you keep some stuff. But you keep nothing. I don't know, man. It's weird. I'm sure they probably are already thinking about how they're going to address that. Like, just download, like, some 300 gig, like, mega game that has, like, everything in it. And then, like, you know, you get to keep all your stuff. It probably would take, like, 300 hours to clear, but I don't know. It's like the game is not, the game is not designed with having all your stuff just disappear.
정의를 위해서라면
정말 전력으로
Oh, nice, he has that. Yeah, I didn't like Remake. I hated the combat. I hated the combat. It just didn't feel fun to play at all, and they really only gave you like 2 melee characters, and the others were like really boring to play. Like Barrett just stands there and shoots, and Aerith is really slow and clunky. I just didn't like the dodge either. The dodge moved like 2 pixels and had no invincibility frames. It's just a weird game, and it didn't help that like I'm not a Final Fantasy VII super fan. You know, I did play it when it came out, but I didn't know any of the plot twists. I had to have people explain the plot twist to me, and I'm like, wow, I really did not play this game for more than a few hours. I really didn't care for it when it came out. I didn't like the graphics. I thought the pixel art games looked like way better. So that doesn't help my judgment either. It's not like this big influential childhood game for me. That kind of stuff would be like beat 'em ups and arcade games and fighting games and stuff. Or like that kind of FF7 influence on me. That game I just never really cared for. I'm not interested in playing it at all. I don't like turn-based combat.
정말 전력으로 갑니다.
Nah, I'm not really interested in Rebirth because I didn't like Remake. I would probably try the demo for it if they put one out for PC, but yeah, I didn't really like the original. Just wasn't my kind of game, and I didn't have the nostalgia buff that a lot of other people my age do. I don't know, people were pretty upfront about the things that were bad about Remake, even though, you know, people were like mega nostalgic for it. The game got called out really fast for like all the forced walking sections and how bad the pacing was and the air combat being terrible. Like, pretty much everybody agrees on that, I think. I can't land this combo. I'll give it a couple more tries. Oh, there we go. I just gotta cancel it sooner. There we go. The new one that just came out? Maybe like with birthday money or something, I might get that, but I've never really been that great at Contra. If I did buy that game, I wouldn't make content for it. It'd be just to play for fun. I've never been good at Contra. I've always been pretty bad at it. I used to have to farm lives on Contra 3 to beat it when I was a kid. I don't think people come here for high-level gameplay. I cannot provide that for Contra. It looks fun to play casually. But it's also like $40. So, kind of, not in my price range right now. I don't even know why I'm bothering with this. This game has had no one playing for months. I'm just playing this because DFO is actually one of like the first games I covered on this channel. That I covered for many years. And I really wanted him to be added, but the base roster for this game kind of sucked and didn't have like a lot of the characters that would just be like perfect for a fighting game. This guy is a boxer with dash and backdash cancels. I mean, he's perfect for a fighting game, but they waited until the game was dead to add him. So, I'm just doing this for fun. Like, no one's gonna watch or care about this, but I don't care. Everybody was begging for this character. I'm like, why do you not have this character in the base roster? Should be a no-brainer. I mean, this is pretty much how his moves work in the main game. They work like almost exactly the same. Like, why would you make more work for yourself by taking one of the characters that wouldn't really work in a fighting game? You could have just put him in right away. I tell you, these like franchise fighting games usually really fuck up their rosters in some ways. I think Battle for the Grid, out of all the franchise fighting games I played, probably had the best roster. Because they put in a lot of characters that like weren't mega popular, but they worked perfect for a fighting game, and I actually really like that. That game's roster is underrated compared to more popular stuff like, you know, Dragon Ball FighterZ. And like, yeah, all the normies that only know Mighty Morphin, they're not gonna care about, like, Geki Violet being in that game, but he's fucking perfect for a fighting game. He should be in it. I don't know how to do that cancel. I gotta watch the demo. There we go. No, it didn't count. Alright, I see how to do this now. Still a combo. There we go. Yeah, I wish Vanillaware would, like, stick with one type of game and keep improving on it, because that's what they did with, like, the period between the original Odin Sphere and then the Odin Sphere remake. Odin Sphere PS2 was a shitty action game. It was really carried by the presentation and the story. The gameplay sucked. Dragon's Crown was quite a bit better, but also suffered from having a really small moveset and just, like, not a lot of content. Odin Sphere remake was really good. That's like the best combat they've ever done, but then they started doing that 13 Sentinels game that's like mostly just story, and now they're doing real-time strategy. I'm like, well, are you really gonna make like another 2 Unicorn Overlords before you make like one that's actually worth playing? Because the Unicorn Overlord is in an interesting spot because there's just like those games aren't as popular as they used to be, so it seems to be selling pretty well. But I'm sure once people play it for a while, it's like, you know, maybe FF Tactics and Ogre Battle was better. But that's kind of the problem with Vanillaware, is they play musical chairs with the kind of game that they're making. And generally, the best games, the best type game, the best genres, or I don't know how to say this, but the best games usually come from studios that just make the same type of game. And maybe they deviate every once in a while, but, you know, you gotta build up that experience again. It's like this game is made by Aiding, right? They've made a lot of Kusage fighting games, which is why, despite this game's flaws, it's fun to play. It's fun to play. It had a lot of problems at launch. But, you know, they've been making these games for a long time. If they decided to go make, like, a first-person shooter next year, you know, it probably wouldn't be very good, right? Everybody would just say, like, I'd rather just play Doom Eternal. Which, I mean, is not really a misguided thing to say. You know, they've been making first-person shooters for decades, so that game's just going to be better by default. But yeah, Vanillaware, it's weird because they've actually had a lot of success with 13 Sentinels. Dragon's Crown was also insanely popular too. That game really did a lot for beat-em-ups, even though I don't really think it's a particularly great beat-em-up. It still did a lot for the genre, and no one can really argue that. It did insane things for the genre. The fact that it had like online co-op throughout like almost the entire game, and it had like enough progression to keep you playing besides just like beating the final boss, was actually like really huge. And I kind of wish they would just stick with one thing. Like, if Unicorn Overlord becomes like their best-selling game, like they just make more games like that, and don't like randomly start making like a first-person shooter. But yeah, I don't understand that company. They do a lot of weird stuff. They make like a really good game, and then they stop making that kind of game, and then they don't port to PC. Well, also the Switch is running out of relevant games. Switch is mostly bad mobile game ports and shitty hentai games. I'm not making that up, by the way. That's like, there's barely any relevant Switch games coming out, so it's getting to the point where people will buy anything that even looks remotely worthwhile, because if that's the only platform you have, there's not that many good games coming out anymore. Switch has a lot of amazing games, but I'd say in the past year it's really slowed down. The first-party stuff is slowing down, and they're not really going to be putting out any more like AAA stuff for it, obviously. But yeah, have you looked at the eShop lately? It's like mostly obvious mobile ports and like Unity asset flips and hentai games. So something like Unicorn Overlord is going to stand out, even if it's like real-time strategy or tactical RPG, which is like not the most mainstream genre. So yeah, you're definitely right there. I've looked at the stuff that's been on the Switch. I'm like, man, this library is just dire. It had a really strong start, but then people started realizing that they could put cheap shovelware on it, and now it's really hard to find anything good. Like, I'm in the eShop. I'm not the eShop, but the 60 FPS mod Discord server where they post the frame rate mods, and people were begging for Penny's big breakaway 60 FPS mod like right away, and some of the people in there that make the cheats are like, why are people so thirsty for this? And then one of the other people was like, it's one of the only worthwhile games to come out on the Switch. After all the useless hentai and Unity asset flip games. I mean, of course people are going to be excited for it, just because it's something halfway decent to play, even if it's not like the most mainstream thing out there. I think the developers are probably really liking that. People are stepping out of their comfort zone a little bit on the Switch because there's so much garbage on there, but I don't know how to do that. The demolition punch. I'm like not gathering how to do it. Oh, you have to do it like really quick. How fast does the AI do it? Oh wow. That seems very impractical. Why would you ever want to risk doing that in a match? Try it a couple times. Fighting games have never really most of them give you really stupid trials that like you would never do in a real match if you're trying to win. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with this one. Dragon's Crown, the frame rate in that is very interesting because the Vita ports is perfect on paper, but when you start getting to the end game, if you have like 3 like wizards in your party or the sorceress, it gets really laggy really quick. It gets like unplayable. The Vita version of Dragon's Crown, it's good to roll the credits, but obviously not really anybody's playing it online on Vita anymore. But even if you're playing with AI, if you have like wizards in your party, the frame rate tanks. That port is really weird. A lot of people said it was perfect, but I put like several dozen hours into that game. Like, yeah, when you get to the end game, the frame rate starts to chug, and the playability of the game tanks. Dragon's Crown Pro I didn't play. I would hope that the PS4 could handle it, because the PS3 did a relatively good job of maintaining the frame rate with that many people in the party. It was mostly the wizards and sorceress would really lag the game. The other, like, more orthodox classes, generally it was fine, but you don't really need to play the Vita version anymore, because you can just play it on your phone now. You can either use Vita 3K, or if you have a Steam Deck, you can play the PS3 version. It should run it perfectly, better than the real hardware. But yeah, the Vita version was a mixed bag. Most people probably didn't play the game that far, so that's why the port got rave reviews. But yeah, if you really got interested in the end game, that port was not the best. But that's kind of what happens when you put a PS3 game on the Vita. It works well in practice, but it starts to chug after a while. The Odin Sphere remake was quite a bit better, mostly just because it was a single-player game, but you definitely could tank the frame rate in that too. But it wasn't as bad. It was only like a couple bosses that you would fight could like make the frame rate drop a little bit, but yeah, that game was a much better port overall, just because you could play through the whole thing and not really have a lot of lag. I didn't find the endgame particularly fun, but yeah, I definitely don't disagree.
This is attract a new challenger. Round 1. Fight! Round 2. Fight! 이런 건
순수한 낙이 위전.
This is attract a new challenger. Round 1. Fight!
You want to see how bad the Switch is right now? I'll go ahead and show it. The Switch lineup is very dire right now. It's barely hanging on. I think that's why they did that partner showcase, just to like tell people like, hey, there's no Switch 2 yet, but there's still some games that are relevant that you might actually want to play. It was like wasn't like a full Nintendo Direct. It was like a what's it called? A partner showcase. Hey, you guys want to see how bad the Switch is right now? Let me change scenes here. Oops. Alright, so what do they have for new releases? We got a PJ Masks game. Truck and Forklift Logistics Simulator. Do-it-yourself paper doll. Infantry Attack. Hot Rider Racing Simulator. Look at this stuff. This is what's going to be on the front page if you go to new releases right now. Like, look at this. That's the only relevant game here. Rainbow Moon, Kingdom Come Deliverance, MLB just barely. You've got a bunch of hentai games here, a card game, visual novels, which isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just, you look at the stuff that's available, and you see why people get excited for anything even remotely interesting looking, because there's really not much. It's gotten really bad the past, like, 2 years. Which is why Unicorn Overlord is doing so well, despite not being a mainstream kind of genre that people would like to play, meaning it's not like an action game or a fighting game or a shooter or an FPS or anything. Like, you look at the competition, there's basically none, right? You look at this competition, it's, I don't even know if you can consider this stuff competition. There's some decent stuff in here, like, the Shubibin Man games are coming out soon. That's kind of cool. But yeah, it's just inundated with shovelware. It's the most relevant thing on this page. Assault Suit Lanos. Freedom Planet 2. Steins Gate, I guess. But, I don't know. More people would play Unicorn Overlord than a visual novel, so I don't know if you can really count that much. Hey, Yuden Chronicle is in April. That's like one of the only relevant games coming out in April, pretty much. Let's go to May. In May, they've got the Paper Mario remake. Umber Claw, which actually looks pretty cool. A new Monkey Ball. And June actually doesn't look too terrible. There's a couple decent games. Okay, and let me look at recently released. What is Unicorn Overlord's competition right now? I mean, Star Wars Battlefront, I guess, but those are like 20-year-old game ports. Yeah, you're seeing how dire the lineup is right now. Look at all this. Lawn Mowing Simulator, probably a mobile port. Just like cheap, like throwaway games that are like not much better than what you could play on Newgrounds. Contra is competition, but I feel like if you like Unicorn Overlord, it probably would be better to choose that because that'll last you a lot longer than Contra. I mean, you look at the stuff that's come out in the past month. What is there to really compete with Unicorn Overlord right now? Like a relevant game that people actually want to play, that's not like overly indie or low budget or just like an asset flip. It's pretty much just Contra. Contra's like the only thing on this page that's like a relevant game that people would actually care about or worthwhile. Going back to the beginning of the month, so far almost nothing. See, the Miku game is kind of misleading because you think it's Project Diva, but it's not. It's a gimmick Joy-Con exercise game, which is not going to last you anywhere near as long as Project Diva, so I wouldn't even count that. You see her on the cover and you think maybe it's a Project Diva remaster, but no, it's an exercise game, and there's already multiple of those, so I don't think people would buy more than one of those, really. If you're just looking to exercise, there's already multiple ways to do that. I don't know if that's really what you would count as a relevant game. Looking at the rest of this page, you have Berserk Boy, I hear, is pretty solid, but I haven't gotten around to buying it yet. Euphoria 2. So yeah, on that page, there's like 2 relevant, halfway decent games. You're seeing how bad this is. Look at these hentai games. You got a game called Full of Crap here. You got Do-It-Yourself Fashion Star. Chimp Quest. So this is already going back into February. You're seeing the past month there's been like maybe 5 relevant games to play. On this page, the worthwhile stuff that people actually care about is pretty much just Sheeran. The Dark Forces remaster, which I hear is really good. And then the rest is throwaway junk, like Hentai Girl Sweet Doctor. So we're going to go ahead and finish up the rest of the year here. How many relevant games have come out? Not many. Thunder Ray I was kind of interested in, but I hear it's like a really not great Punch-Out clone that manages to not be as good as the old game, so I skipped that one. What's relevant on this page? The SpongeBob bundle, I guess. Retro Game Challenge, but that only comes out in Japan, so I don't know if you can even really count that. Next page. Penny's Big Breakaway. This was the one I mentioned that people were begging them for frame rate codes, and everybody was like, why are people so thirsty for this? And it's like, well, look at the competition. Look at what else there is here. Relevant games for the middle of February was pretty much Penny, Slave Zero X. Slave Zero X is honestly kind of overpriced at $30. It doesn't have that much content, but it is a relevant game. Balatro is like really majorly popular, so that's like competition as well. That's probably like one of the best games to come out on the Switch in a while. Mario and Donkey Kong. So this page actually had some decent, like above average stuff to play. Going back to the beginning of February, we're still in the halfway point. What's relevant on this page? Trails Daybreak. That's basically it. It's just a bunch of shovelware. That's as far back as I can go. Tomb Raider, Arzette. They're pretty good games. Yeah, you can see how many of those games were like worth playing. Maybe like 15 of them. And then you look at how many pages there are. I just went through 300 games. How many of those were people actually were like worthwhile, decent budget and gameplay of like all types? Maybe like 20 of them. So like 10% of what's come out in the past month is like worth playing. And then if you look at the Japan side, there's barely any exclusives coming out for the Switch right now. Japan exclusives have pretty much dried up. The last major one to come out was Mameda no Bakeru. That game came out a couple months ago. So Japan doesn't really have anything really worthwhile either. Their exclusive games are pretty much just visual novels, which obviously there's a market for them because they keep putting them out, but the language barrier for one is going to make people even less interested in playing those because there's not really any gameplay. Yeah, as you can see here, there's barely even any Japan exclusives coming out at the moment. Pretty much everything that's in here that's not available everywhere else is mostly just visual novels, which obviously they don't bring out over here because they're like a major undertaking to translate, and then most people aren't going to be interested in that kind of game, so it's like a waste of money. Yeah, there's like not even really any exclusives coming right now. It's pretty barren. You got Rugrats and Gameland coming out in August. I'm really excited for that one. I probably wouldn't even play that if I was still a kid. But yeah, there you go. That's how barren the Switch library is right now. It's really really bloated with just a bunch of shovelware. That's why Unicorn Overlord is doing probably way better than they thought. I'm sure while they were working on that game, is it probably thinking like, is anybody going to actually want to play this? Because it's, it's not a mainstream genre, but then like, supposedly it's selling really well. I'm like, yeah, you probably should have maybe set the expectations a little bit higher, because there's like no there's like no competition. There's no like other decent games worth buying right now. I feel like at the end of the Switch's lifespan, a lot of stuff like that wouldn't normally be popular is going to do way better than they think, because there just isn't anything else to play. And I feel like part of that is just because I think they were already planning to have the new Switch out by now, but a combination of COVID delays and the supply chain shortages, and then not having games ready, really held them back. So now they're desperately trying to put like relevant games out. But the other thing I should mention, let me go back. I need to mention one more thing before I go. Let me go ahead and put up the source again. I forgot to mention one thing that really makes the Switch situation even worse. If I go back to NA, and I go to recent releases, how far do I have to scroll to get to a relevant game? Not counting this, which just came out today, which is, still like, I don't know how many people are going to be super excited for that. Those are like 20-year-old games. How far do I have to scroll down to get to a relevant game? Meaning of, you got Contra and Unicorn Overlord here on the second page. Now this is going really fast, right? Because I'm on a computer. But scrolling through all this garbage to get to Unicorn Overlord and Contra takes like a really long time, because the Switch shop is so laggy. And that's part of the problem too, is the amount of shovelware and junk and asset flips that are on here. They make it harder to find the relevant stuff. Because if you don't have a PC, or you don't know about this site, it takes forever to scroll down to get to this point. So this is probably about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 scrolls down to get to Contra and Unicorn Overlord, which came out within a week of each other. A week of each other. You have to think about that too. You got to go through Finger Soccer League and Bad Cat Sam Simulator and My Bakery Empire Tasty Edition to get to like the only relevant game on the page, which is going to be this and Contra. So I hope that the next Switch will actually have a shop that works, because actually looking for things on the Switch is fucking painful because it's mega extremely laggy. It's really laggy, so when people have to sift through so much shovelware to find something halfway decent or worthwhile to play, that just makes things worse. This is the same thing that happened to the PS3 at the end of its lifespan. For some reason, they updated the PS3 shop to like, they completely overhauled it, but it got like twice as slow. And it got so hard to find stuff. I remember towards the end of its lifespan, like Basara came out and Kamen Rider Batride War, like those games. I remember spending like minutes just trying to get to the damn page to buy it, and how painful that was. And that's exactly what's happened to the Switch. It's just gotten more and more laggy over time. So the shovelware, I mean, obviously not every game can be great, right? They can't all be like masterpieces. But the fact that they have so much of it on there, most people aren't going to have the patience to look through it to find something decent to play. Like, how far back did I go to like find another game worth playing? Best thing on here is probably Euphoria 2 and Berserk Boy. That's probably another couple minutes of scrolling. And then just to click on the page and like look at some gameplay takes even longer. Going all the way back here. I don't want to spend too long on this because I already went over it, but yeah, I'd go all the way down to like Sheeran and Dark Forces, which was less than a month ago. Would probably take several minutes because you got to scroll through stuff like Tidy Number Hunt and Hentai Girl Sweet Doctor. That's one thing I really liked about the Vita. The most underrated thing about the Vita was that the store, they never updated the store. It stayed as responsive as it did from launch all the way to the end of its lifespan. But like for some reason, the Switch store and the PS3 store, even the PS4 store got really bad towards the end because they kept putting more and more ads on it. But yeah, that's why Unicorn Overlord is more popular than they're expecting. I just looked at its direct competition, and there really isn't anything that can compete with that game right now. Very little. Like, people will just buy that because it looks halfway decent, even if it's not something they would normally play. Which I think is a good thing overall, because tactical RPG fans have had, like, very little to play for a very long time, so I hope that game does well. It's just, I hope if it does way better than expected, that they'll just keep making games like that and not go to another random genre, because the thing about being a Vanillaware fan is, like, there's like 3 different fans of Vanillaware, right? There's the action game fans like me that played Dragon's Crown and Odin Sphere. And then there's the 13 Sentinels fans, which, you know, they like that game because it has a good story, but gameplay-wise, it's nothing special. And now there's going to be the Unicorn Overlord fans. And I just don't understand how they plan to please everybody. Because you've got 3 very different types of games, all from the same company. And it takes them like years to make a game because they're a small team. I don't know how they plan to address that. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to address that. 3 different groups of people to please. And it takes us so long to make a game that you can't like churn them out really quick like big companies. Hey, the first thing about this fighting game version of Monk that they got wrong was this. It has very little hit stun. I think they did a really good job translating him properly, but the whole thing about this, even in PvP of actual dungeon fighter, this was supposed to be like your gap closer and your combo starter. Does that even link? It does. It's really tight though. Kind of weird. Like, why does it have so little hit stun? It's like they made it more of a combo tool instead of its original purpose in the original game. He also doesn't have the shadow boxing either. That's kind of disappointing that they didn't give him that. But yeah, you kind of have to like link. You have to link from 5A after the body blow. Strange decision. Fuck. Also, a really weird thing is, you can only do Sidewind in the air, which is kind of weird. It's like a unique thing that they did for this fighting game version. I guess they thought it would be too OP, but my take on that is this is already a game with like half-screen normals, so I don't really think he would affect the balance that much. But yeah, I'm really enjoying playing as him so far. I mean, no one really plays this game on PC anymore, so I don't know how much I care about being optimal, but just playing as him is fun. And he should have been in the game from the start, but they did not make the best choices when they decided the roster for this game. You got some characters that like feel like they're meant for it, like him obviously, but he just came out today. The Grappler, obviously. The Ghostblade, Spectre, Ranger, Berserker. But then there's some like Kunoichi. They should have chosen Rogue. They should have chosen Rogue, I think. Or even Shadow Dancer would have been better. I think they made the right choices with the male fighter. Male Nen would have been really cool. This game's obviously not going to get any more support past the next update, but male Nen would have been cool. I would have preferred Skirmisher over Vanguard. Troubleshooter's not bad, but I think Agent would have been cooler. Battle Mage is actually a really good choice. She should have been in from the start, because the Mage sprite in DFO is fucking terrible. It has like 4 frames of animation. It looks really bad. Even the people that are lolicons and get off on little lolly characters would definitely agree with you. Seeing this character with a not shit sprite is actually really cool. I think if they did another male Slayer, I would have done, probably Weapon Master would have been really fun to play. There's a lot of liberties they could take. And for F Slayer, I would say, if you're gonna put Weapon Master for male, I would put Vagabond for her as the second character. For Monk, I feel like they covered the bases. Avenger would have been really cool, actually. They could have done like a lot with that. I would have preferred that over Satyr. Striker is basically just a fighting game character, so I mean, she was probably like the first character that they chose, and then also she's kind of been the unofficial mascot of the game for like 18 years, so I don't think there was ever any time when they weren't considering her. But I feel like when they decided to put her in, that they weren't going to do male Striker, because they're like actually quite similar. We're getting Nen Master next, actually. Nen Master F-Nen is supposed to be next. It'll be interesting to see how they do that. The questionable choices, I'd say, would be her. Knight isn't mega popular. Kunoichi. Seems like they just made more work for themselves. They could have just put Rogue in the game. Or Shadow Dancer. They're basically fighting game characters already. Vanguard's kind of just Lu Bu. I would have preferred if they had Skirmisher instead, because he's kind of also just a fighting game character with like the mist cancels and everything. The roster's decent, but they definitely made some kind of what the hell choices. I've never cared for the mage because I don't like lollies, but I think that this is actually one of the really good picks. Because the battle mage in DFO looks really bad because she has like a dozen frames of animation. She looks really limited by such an old sprite. So it's really cool that they put her in too. I don't think anybody can really complain about that. Spectre's really cool as well. I gotta try her out next stream. And then of course he's like the best ad that they put in so far. He feels like, how the fuck do you not have him in the base roster? him not being in the base roster and Rogue not being in base roster are probably the most questionable choices they made. Because they did manage to represent most of the classes and the different playstyles, but he should have been in the game day one. How do you not have a boxer that already has like forward dash and back dashes cancels? He already has cancels and stuff. Like, I don't know. Why are you making more work for yourself putting in the Satyr? I can't even begin to understand that. But yeah, the roster is starting to get a lot better. It just took them like a year of ghosting people to fix it. Oh, Power Flow, while you're here, let me go ahead and draw the Neo 2 winner. While I'm here. Maybe you'll win. I'm not doing any favoritism bias. So, let me go ahead and choose a winner. So I need to do that, because I'm going to be... Hopefully, if I get the money, I can go on my trip. I won't be really able to do this any other time, so... Let me choose the winner here. I kind of forgot about it. All right. Yeah, I only got 4. I got 5 entrants, but one person that entered basically told me that I needed to play more Muso games to make money, and I didn't really think that that was a good way to enter my contests. Is to tell me that I need to play the only thing that I'm known for. And I'm like, I really wanted to reply to that. I was like, Muso is dead right now, right? I'm getting more views playing the indie games than Muso. The views I got on Slave Zero X did better than any Muso stuff I've done for months. So I didn't really think that that guy was eligible. So you have a 25% chance. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Hey, you won! You won, man. Well, there you go. You had a 25% gotcha chance and you won. Wow, you won like 4 times in a row. Did you see that? You won like 3 times in a row. Luck is on your side. Alright, go ahead and send me a Discord message, and I will get that for you right now. Yeah, you won like 3 times in a row. Well, you were destined to win. But you won the first time, so I have to give it to you. So let me turn this off so people can't see the key and snipe it. Go ahead and send me a message right now. Let me go ahead and get the key. I got to go on my Humble account, so I can't show that obviously. Give me a sec. Yeah, you won. Congrats. Actually, I think you're in my Discord, aren't you? Yeah, you're right here. Alright, here you go. There you go. Enjoy. Why don't you go see if it works right now while I'm here? Go ahead and redeem it now, because I'm going to go to bed after this. I might have to do some trip planning tomorrow, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Yeah, you won like 3 times in a row. I thought the randomizer was broken, but you won. You had a 25% chance and you won like 3 times. So go ahead and redeem it now if you can. Yeah, take your time. So I'm probably going to go unresponsive after this. Probably going to go veg out in bed and take my meds and try to rest. There you go. Hey, yeah, you won like 3 times in a row. You should start playing gotcha games. Although, admittedly, you had a 25% chance, so it's not that impressive. But yeah, you can go back and rewind if you want. You can see that I clicked the button like 3 times and you still won. So you were destined to win. In any case, I don't know if I'm going on the trip or not. I'm probably going to have to ask friends for help. It's pretty unlikely right now, honestly. So, in the event that I find out early, I'll have to go get some stuff done, like buy a charger and things. So, I'm going to go ahead and stop for tonight. Uh, I'll probably try to raise a little funds, maybe in the afternoon or something if I have the energy. But, I've had a lot of stress outside of my control, like with my insurance getting renewed. Like I sent in my papers like weeks ago, and they just called me about it in the afternoon. So that's been a lot of stress, and that was a huge weight off my shoulders. And this trip was basically just going to happen because my friend was supposed to host me, but he had to back out at the last minute, and I like already paid for the train ticket. So I'm trying to make it happen because canceling is going to be a nightmare. I don't know if I even can at this point, so I might end up being out $100. But I'm trying to see if I can make it happen. I hope it will. I definitely need it, but I just have not had the best luck lately. So uh, tomorrow will be, or today will be the last stream day if I do go. Uh, if I don't go, then things will just work as normal. Will just go as normal. But if I do go, actually I can stream off the Steam Deck over there. So there'll probably be some Steam Deck streams, but I don't know. It's going to be really tight to go. So I'm going to try to make it happen, but unfortunately, I'm kind of going to have to beg for help because otherwise I'm out $100. Well, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Nice 3-hour stream. I'll see you guys later.